What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of relationships. I'm sure all of you will agree, relationships are important. But for the CEO, I think it's critical. And sometimes I think in the beginning, when we're founders and we're still doing founder-led sales, we know those relationships are so important to get funding, to find employees, to meet our first customers, right? Our own network and the network of others are really important to us. But that is true always. And I think that stepping back from building those relationships and staying connected is a mistake. So hopefully most of you aren't doing that. Hopefully most of you are still actively building your networks and building relationships and leveraging those relationships both ways, right? To help others and to help yourself and your own company. So today we're going to talk to Barb Betts. And she believes that relationships are your superpower. And I agree. Welcome to the show, Barb.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alice. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, just before the show, we should have been recording because we had so many good points on relationships. But before we dive into the topic, just tell our audience a little bit about what you do.
So thank you for that. So I started my sales career over 20 years ago. And I started in real estate sales and built a multi-million-dollar team, multi-million-dollar brokerage. I was a broker owner for many years, all based on one premise, the foundation of relationships. And as I went throughout those years, I would have people ask me, how are you doing it? You're not doing any transactional advertising. You're not doing any of the stuff that agents typically do, but yet you're uber successful. You're on the ball field with your kids. You're at home with your family. You're going on vacation. You're like doing all these things that people want to have this full and complete life, but yet you're not out there doing the traditional things that we are. And so what I discovered through all of that is that I had, number one, a natural born tendency to build these relationships. Then I realized that it's not just enough to be a relational type person. You actually have to put a system behind it, right? That really, you can't take relationships by chance. You have to actually have a way to stay in touch and follow up and engage and nurture and develop and deepen and all those things. And then that just transpired into teaching and educating and speaking. And now I do corporate keynote speaking for a living, where I get to travel all around the country and the world, speaking to corporate and business audiences and talking to people about the power of relationships, but most importantly, not just the power of them, how to actually build them, deepen them so that you can leverage them.
All right. So jumping right into that topic of relationships, what do you think that most people are neglecting or not doing that's putting them maybe in a situation where, they're not going to get what they need when they need it because they don't have those relationships? What do you think happens, or why do people neglect this?
Well, I think it's because people look at relationships as like a feel-good factor. They think that they have a lot of relationships because they know a lot of people. They think they have a lot of relationships because they have 5,000 Facebook friends. You mentioned it earlier, 20,000 people on your LinkedIn, right? And so they take these relationships for granted. And they think that just because someone knows them and knows what they do, that they're automatically going to remember them when it's time to transact with them or know someone that has a need. And so what I've developed is the fact that there's actually an art and a science to relationships, and that you have to be strategically invested in them. And so I think the biggest thing people miss is it's not that they miss it, it's that they take them for granted. And if they would actually pour a little more time, effort, and attention into them, and I'm talking both internal and external relationships, right? Within our companies and outside of our companies, I think that people would see their businesses transform. I think they also miss the fact that relationships are pivotal to life, and that the better relationships that they have both internally and externally in their companies, the better they're going to have as far as employees, productivity, people that report to them. Like, it's not just about sales anymore. It's about life.
Right. It's about that deep connection. But the problem is, Barb, I'm busy and it's a lot of work to maintain a relationship.
Mhm.
And, I've got a lot of kids and family, and that's hard enough. how do I keep in touch with all of these other people? I mean, I'm a CEO, I'm running a business.
Yeah. And fair pushback, right? And I hear you. And so that's why one of the pivotal things that I teach is that we have to prioritize our relationships, right? You cannot expect to have the same level of relationship with everyone that you know. If you do, it's going to lead to burnout, to your point. It's going to lead to a diluted effect because no one's going to feel special and important to you. And so, how do you take those people that you know and prioritize them in a way that you know the frequency you need to stay in touch with people? You know how often you need to connect with them. You know when it's time to show up. And so, when you start with the prioritization, everything else can fall into place. But first, it's about knowing who and how often you need to stay present in these people's lives.
So I'm a CEO and I know that I need to maintain some relationships, like you said, some at a higher level than others. I don't
Mhm.
really love LinkedIn, but I'm on there, I'm hanging out, I've got connections, etc. All right. So, how do I figure out this priority? Because I do want my company to grow and I do want to help my salespeople and open doors for them. And I do want to attract the best leaders through my network when I need leaders and employees. So, tell us about how to do that. Like, how do I prioritize? How do I Let's start just there. Like,
Yeah.
how do I prioritize and get this main list that I'm going to now need to stay in touch with?
Fair question. Well, the first thing is you don't start with 20,000 people, right? I always looked at our look at our social profiles as kind of the peripheral relationships, and you have to bring them into your fold. So the first thing I want you to do, I want every person in business to do, anyone listening, is you've got to take the people that you know and get them on a list, right? And most people would call that a database. I refer to a database as a list of relationships. We're talking people that you actually know. I hope you like them. You don't have to like all of them, but usually when you're doing business by relationship and you want people to do business with you, I hope that you actually enjoy them as a human, right? So people that you know and like. And
Enjoy
then
them and care about them, right? Because
correct.
it's kind of awkward to just I mean, this is the whole problem, right? When you need something, it's the wrong time to start building a relationship because it's very awkward to be. But Barb, I haven't talked to you for 10 years, but can you introduce me to your CEO?
You're
No, the
you're
answer is
you're
no.
you're preaching my language and you're previewing my content. I love it. So, because uh, I have a huge mantra of, as salespeople, as CEOs with likely having a sales team or someone bringing in revenue for your company. Um, the number one problem salespeople have is they don't ask for the business. Like that's the number one problem, right? And they don't ask for the business because they don't feel like they've been given permission to by themselves because of exactly what you just said. Because I haven't talked to you in 3
Well, they
years.
haven't earned it, right? You've
Correct.
got to earn it. Like,
Correct.
hello, anybody listening, you're in a relationship with someone trying to help them solve a problem. If you're in sales, whether you're the CEO doing the sales or anybody doing the sales, right? You're trying to help somebody solve a problem. You have to they have to trust you. That's because you have credibility, because you bring something to the table. You're not just trying to sell them something, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you're trying to help them solve something,
A
right?
problem that you can solve 1,000%. So
You can't ask hard questions to someone if you have no credibility and you haven't built a relationship and they don't
correct.
trust you. So you
Correct.
are just going nowhere super
Yes.
fast.
Yes. So back to that list of relationships, right? So you take your list of people you know, and hopefully you have some level of relationship with them, or frankly, that's a mailing list. So I'm really distinctive in that. You can still have a mailing list, and lots of businesses need those, right? I'm talking about the people that you know and like. So you get this list together, and then I apply a simple ranking formula. Now you can create whatever container you want to put this in, but I actually rank my relationships. I use a 5-star formula because it's very easy to know 5 from 1, right? We do it all the time on Open Table and every other review site on the planet. And so you take these relationships and you rank them by 2 key factors. The first is level of relationship. How close are you to them, right? Are they your best friend? Do you talk to them all the time? Or are they someone you did business with 5 years ago, but you're like, dang, I really should restart that relationship? Are they someone that you're just connected to? That's an acquaintance? Like what level of relationship? Now, my 5-star world, 5 stars are advocates. Those are your walking, talking billboards, right? Those are your people who are going to talk about you and share you and love you. And frankly, you can do no wrong with, right? We all know who those people are in our lives. 4 stars are fans. 3 stars are connections. 2 stars are acquaintances. And 1 star is a mailing list. So you take the level of relationship combined with their ability to do business with you. And that's a key factor because you can really, really, really love your best friend. So I always use my best friend actually as my example in my speaking industry. In my real estate industry, my best friend, who's a kindergarten teacher, is a 5-star relationship. Why? Because she's my best friend. She loves me. She trusts me. She knows we're great at what we do. And she knows a lot of people who have rooftops and need to buy and sell real estate. However, in my speaking world, in my corporate keynote speaking world, she is not a 5-star relationship because she doesn't have that high level ability to refer me. She doesn't deal now, if I was speaking in education, she would be a higher level relationship. So you're not valuing people on just face value. You're valuing them on how connected, how close are you, combined with what's their ability to do business with you. And this isn't like you're valuing people on just what they can do for you, right? But if you do not separate people in some kind of category, again, you're trying to treat everybody the same and you're going to have a category of none is what you're
Yeah,
going to.
I agree with you. And I also feel like it, especially with business, it's not just what can they do for me, but what can I do for them? Because that's what makes a super powerful
Oh,
relationship.
of course.
So if I like them and we've, hung out at different events and done, some business together already in the past, but it's like, can I help them? Can they help me? Clear 5-star.
Correct. Two-way street.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So that's going to be a lot for me because I've been in business a really long time. We're
Yeah.
not going to tell everybody exactly
No,
how long,
I
but it's a
get
long
it.
time.
I get it.
And
I
and
get
I
it.
have my Outlook is like full and my LinkedIn is full. And so where would I start with that list? Because I'm not going to put all 20,000 people on that list and try to rank them,
No,
right?
no. I always say start with a couple hundred, right? Start with 150. There's Dunbar's rule of 150. Dunbar's rule of 150 says you don't know more than 150 people, so get over it. So I always say 150 is a really good place to start. When I'm teaching, for instance, new business owners, if I'm teaching a brand new startup, someone just starting out in business, I just say get your top 100, right? And when I'm talking to people that are just starting out, I'm like, because they don't know who they're going to do business with. And I'm like,
Right.
start with what you would send a holiday card to, who you would invite to your wedding. Like, think of it from that perspective. Who are the closest people to you? Right? Then go to the next level. Who's in my network? Who's in my networking groups? Who's in my community? And then continue to go out from there. And eventually you'll get out to social and peripheral, right? And let's face it, all of your social contacts are relationships in some capacity. But if you go start there, to your point, you're going to be completely overwhelmed. So
Yeah,
get to that
absolutely.
core 100, get to that core 150, and just start ranking them. And then once you have that ranking list done, now we can talk about how do we strategically reach out and connect with people.
Yeah, good, good. We're going to get there in a second. And one of the things I was thinking about while you were talking is that there may be people on my list who didn't get a 5-star. Maybe they only got a 3 even, but I look at them and go, wow, this could be a powerful connection if I worked on it. Now, I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but just as a reminder to everybody, again, I'm not going to reach out to this connection and ask for something. I'm
No.
going to start nurturing that relationship and improving it and asking what I can do for them, right?
Correct.
Before I'm going to go ahead and jump in and ask them for something. So I'm
Absolutely.
thinking this list will be really great because as I review it, I'm going to see that there are some people I may not be leveraging who I have a 5-star personal relationship with and business wise, they could really help. And then I'm going to see there's some people who have 5 stars that they could be a great business connection, but I haven't got such a high relationship with them yet, a good enough one to really ask for anything. And I'm going to start to think, all right, now I see where I need to do the work. So let's jump into how I'm going to
Yeah.
do it.
Okay. And first and foremost, I want to give one caveat. You do not tell anybody how they're ranked in your database. Okay. This is really, really, really important. You don't see them at your next networking event and be like, you know what, Alice? I just did this exercise where I ranked my database and you're a 3. and a 3 just means we're a good connection. Like, no, you do not tell them. This is your own internal system. You do not tell people where they're ranked. So that's first and foremost, because you could ruin a relationship that way. But to your point, how do you start strategically investing? So back to what I was saying, it's interesting. Dale Carnegie did a study that said that 91% of customers would give a referral, but only 11% of salespeople are asking for them.
I heard it was actually even lower than that, Barb. I heard it was only 4%.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many studies out there, but it's mind-blowing to me. And I know why. Like I said it earlier, people don't ask for business because they don't feel like they've been given permission to, or to your point, earned it, right? Given themselves permission. And they feel like a icky salesperson. It's the ick factor. Like, we've all felt it. We don't want to be that pushy salesperson. I shouldn't say that. Most people did not get into sales to be a pushy salesperson, right?
No. And what we don't want to do is awkward. I always tell, CEOs and salespeople, like, don't do awkward. That's
Correct.
not what we're going for here.
Correct.
So if it feels awkward, then don't do it. But you're right. There are so many customers who know us and love us, and we've done a great job for them, and they're just thrilled.
They're just
right?
waiting to hear
They're
from you.
delighted. We've got to figure out a way for it to not be awkward, to ask them for an introduction when we need it.
Yes. Well, and I love the way you use introduction, because that's another one of my foundational principles is don't ask for referrals, ask for introductions and connections. But back to, how do you do this, right? So I have a foundational principle of make deposits before you take withdrawals.
Yes.
Right? You have this relationship bank account, and every human is a relationship bank account with you. And every interaction you have with said human, no matter what level they are in your database, is either a deposit or a withdrawal. You're either pouring into their life in a thoughtful, helpful way, authentic way, or you're taking because you're asking, right? And you cannot call someone up and say, I need your help, unless you've built up that relationship account. So in my world, I employ something because, fun fact, my entire sales career, I actually hate lead generation. I hate lead generation like the plague. My actual sales story started with door knocking, getting chased by a dog, and getting in my car saying, I just made the worst career decision ever. And I always say it was 2003. And thank goodness there was no Ring doorbells or cameras back in the day, although that would make for really great keynote footage right now. But I got into my car and I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I signed up to help people. And I think that's what most salespeople do sign up for, right? CEOs alike. And so I realized I was chasing leads instead of building relationships. And so when I teach these principles, and after you've ranked your database, I tricked myself into lead generating every day because, oh, by the way, if you're not lead generating, you're not going to have any sales, right? So I tricked myself into lead generation as a make someone's day mindset. So on my calendar every day, instead of lead generation calls, sales calls, follow-up calls, whatever you put on your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to get done. Mine say MSD messages, and that's not a drug. It's just my little code word for make someone's day. And my job in that time period is to take my prioritized list of people that I follow a frequency formula for and reach out and connect. And guess what? As simple as, I'm just checking in on you. I'm just checking in to say hello. Was thinking about you guys today. How are you? Go on their social media, find something they just posted, reach out and say, hey, Alice, vacation looked great. Oh my God, where was your favorite spot in Hawaii? Like, whatever it is, you are simply reaching out to say hello. It's a magic tool that will work wonders if you actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be clear right now, CEOs, we're not talking about salespeople reaching out to prospects saying, just checking in on you. No. We know that's a huge no. We're talking about their list of people they know that love them, that would bend over backwards to help them. And yes, some of them might be a customer.
Correct.
That it's important. And I want to give a few things that I do that have been hugely successful in keeping in touch with people. Handwritten notes.
Oh, girl.
I have beautiful note cards with a local artist. There you go. Local artists with photographs on them. I send those out. Yeah. In fact, I have one. I was just about to send one myself. This is one of the cards and it says who the local artist is on the back. Mm-hmm. And I send those out and just, thinking of you, or whatever message I have for that person, because I actually remember really know these people. So I have something to say to them. The other thing I do that has been highly successful is I send them an email or a text, read this and thought of you. Now, I read constantly. If you don't read constantly, this will be a little bit harder to do. But as I read, I have this tool called Pocket, getpocket.com, and I save it in my pocket. That way it syncs across all of my devices so I can text it, email it, Slack it, whatever, right? And so when I read something, and usually I go, oh, you know who would love it? Barb would love this article. And I'll put a tag, because you can tag in Pocket, and I'll put Barb, and or I'll put sales leaders, so that when I go to look for an article for a sales leader, or I'll put CEOs. So I give myself a tag. So when I go back, I go, oh yeah, I wanted to send this article to Barb, or I wanted to send this article to whoever, right? And sometimes it's just something that doesn't have anything to do with business, but it made me think of that person. But those work really well, and you can do them anytime. And then, of course, you also mentioned, but this has been highly successful too, is I have my list, and I check on their LinkedIn about once a week and see if there's something that I'm also interested in that they've posted about, right? You want to be authentic, right? Our good friend Erin, who introduced us, she would be like, only authentic, right? So if they are posting something I'm also passionate about, I will make a comment on that. So now there's 3 easy ways for them to see me.
Oh yeah. The list goes on and on. I mean, you are, I mean, the Get Pocket, I wrote that down. That is absolutely fantastic. I can't tell you how many times, usually with me, it's a funny reel or an inspirational meme, or, a quote or something
Any of those
like
things,
that.
right?
It's
You can
all
put them in Pocket. It doesn't matter if it's on Instagram, TikTok, no matter what it is, you
downloading
can put
it
it in
when
your
we're
pocket.
done. That you should be a spokesperson for them. So, but I also, it's all about how can you make thoughtful deposits, right? How can you show up in their life in a thoughtful way? There's so many ways now: text, DM, handwritten notes. Oh my gosh, as I showed you my little stack of them, I write them every single day. I've got all a design world rainbow of markers over here that I write with. Just giving gifts, sending things in the mail. I mean, the list is endless. People
Sending small things, like, don't think you have to spend a lot of money, right? But another thing, like, I will send people books. Like, if I read a book and then I'm like, oh my gosh, Barb is going to love this, I will literally go either to a local bookshop, or, to be honest, a lot of times I do it on Amazon because it's easy. I'll click on Amazon and get that sent directly to that person.
Yeah. And then the next step to this is, right, people always ask me, okay, that's great, I'm going to pour into all these people, but I got a lot of people and I don't have enough time to do this.
Right.
There's too many people, and how do I do this all the time? And I get overwhelmed. Right. And that's why I say, depending on the cadence of your business, the sales business I came from, I had to do lead generation every single day. Not every sales business is that way. Not every CEO is going to operate that same way. But for my world, and still to this day, I still do this in my corporate speaking business, because now I have bureau relationships. Now I have other speakers. Erin's an example that we get referrals and we do business with each other. Then I've got event planners and then just other people in the corporate world that know speaking opportunities. So that's now my new world of lead generation. And so now I personally now do it once a week for a good 2-hour block. And I still use the same system, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now the difference is how you implement your frequency formula, right? So everyone in business should have a frequency formula. How often is each one of these categories going to get a nurture or a touch point? For me, I still use the same system I used before. 5 stars are every 30 days, honestly, more than once a month usually, but definitely once a month they're hearing from me. 4 stars are every 60, 3 stars are every 90, 2 stars are every 120, 1 star mailing list. And so if you do this correctly, right, you are going to touch your entire database at least 3 times a year. And the best people 12 times a year. Now, of course, it turns into more than that, right? This is the bare minimum. This is how you keep yourself accountable. Because again, if you don't stay in consistent contact, you can't do this today and then not speak to somebody for 12 months. It doesn't work like that, right? And then the level of relationship changes and people move up and they move down and they show you that, oh, they are a bigger fan than you thought they were. So they get to move up and then you contact them more often. So You get to create whatever formula you want that works for you. I'm just telling you that if you have 150 people in your database and you try to treat everyone the same, it's not going to work. And then if you don't stay in contact with people on some kind of consistent basis, it's not going to work. And so be intentional, be deliberate, be specific, and get through that list on a consistent basis and watch your relationships transform, because then you'll earn the right to ask for the actual business, because it's not going to just happen. People don't just lay up at night thinking about you, right? It's not going
We
to
wish
happen.
they did, but they don't.
I wish they did too. I would be a much happier human, but it turns out they don't.
Yeah. I think that's so true. We do have to remind people that we are still here and that we are here to help, and that occasionally we may also need help. And I think that's what people expect from a relationship, that give and take. And in fact, if you never ask for any help from people who you're close to, they might think that's a little bit weird, because it's like, hey, I get great satisfaction from helping others.
Mhm.
And, when I don't ever let anyone help me, I'm kind of robbing them of that satisfaction too. So humans are reciprocal and they do want to help. But
Yeah.
again, you got to have the relationship established in order to be able to give help and to get help back.
Mhm.
So really important. All right. So we've got these lists we've made. We've given them stars so we know
Whatever you want, letters, stars,
whatever.
numbers,
And
whatever
then
you want.
we have looked at that list carefully to say, oh, here's some people we'd like to move up, and here's some people we should pay more attention to, these kinds of things. And then we go about connecting with them at a
Mhm.
deeper level by simply paying attention to them in a way that they would appreciate, right? All of the things we mentioned,
Mhm.
using social media to say hello, giving them a quick call, giving them a text, sending them a handwritten card, commenting on a post. Any of these things, right, can be done. See, when you're at an event, making sure you meet up with them, or even when I'm just in a city, like, oh, I was just in
Yeah.
Denver, right? And then I let the people who I know in Denver know that I was going to be there, even though they weren't at the same conference with me, so that we could have the opportunity to get together. So all of these things are really important. And I know all of you are really busy. You're CEOs, right? But if this is something that you put on your calendar, right? And you have that time blocked off every week, maybe not every day, but every week you have some time blocked off to do this, it is going to make a huge difference.
Huge.
And for your sellers as well, right? They're maybe doing their selling work, the grind of the emails and the calls and the voicemails and all of that. But wouldn't it be better if they spent some time each week nurturing their network so that they could get introductions versus having to go out cold? Think about that. Like, how powerful would that be?
Yeah. It's a game changer, and it goes obviously layers and layers deep from there, and it gets into ideas behind truly understanding the people that you're trying to do business with, truly understanding your network. And I like to use a simple kind of like what you just said with your pocket example. I call them memory tags, right? Because we're human and we're going to forget. So what are these memory tags that you need to remember about people? And I keep track of all kinds of things in my CRM. There's always usually a great notes box somewhere that you can just drop notes in. And most CRMs nowadays, you can search by these things, right? So I keep track of, their favorite coffee. I keep track of their favorite restaurants. I keep track of, you mentioned networking events. When I'm at networking events, honestly, the most important thing I'm watching is, what are you drinking? Are you drinking? Are you not drinking? Do you constantly grab red wine, or do you grab a glass of champagne, or do you always grab a soda water? Because that may mean that you don't drink. So I should never send you alcohol. Like,
Exactly.
how are you truly training yourself? And this takes training to truly understand people and listen for things, so that when you need to, what I call surprise and delight somebody, you are surprising and delighting them with something they actually like. These are the key factors in building relationships that, again, you mentioned it, that your entire sales team can be listening. I always say everyone in your company is in sales. So your receptionist should be listening, or the person that answers the phone, customer service, accounting. Everyone should be trained to listen, because everyone can pop in the CRM and note something down that someone said. And it could be a powerful transformational tag to use in the future when you need to leverage a moment, which is another piece in my system, which is, how do we effectively leverage moments?
Let's
So
talk about that in a second. But I think this everyone sells is really important. It's something that I've said throughout my entire career. Um, But what's important to remember is not only if they're interfacing with someone that they could put it into the database, a customer or prospect or a referral source, right? So it's there so someone else can actually see the information if they need it, right? I think that's so important, but everyone in your company knows people. Every single person in your company knows people. It doesn't matter if they are brand new, it doesn't matter if they're in ops, if they're in marketing, if they're in accounting, they all know people. And if they are not leveraging their own networks to help your company grow, why? Why? Right? So why can't they do the same thing? Why can't they make their lists and
Correct.
figure out who they should nurture? Now, maybe they're not going to spend as much time,
Mhm.
obviously, as a seller would doing that, but why not? They
Yeah.
could still touch people in their network once or twice a year and then be able to ask for an introduction when needed. And I think what's just baffling to me is why people don't do this, especially today where the cold outreach is so hard and it's really not working. We need introductions. We need our network to make those introductions for us. And there are people within our own company who know people who probably could have made that introduction.
Yeah.
And we don't even have, it's not even a thing. Right.
Yeah.
And but especially the CEO, Barb, right? Like the CEO has this amazing network and they know all these people and they're not opening doors for their sellers. So
Yeah.
we really need to think about what we're doing today because we're spending a lot of money on SEO and pay per click and
Mhm.
marketing and sending stuff and going to events and trade shows and all of that. And we're not spending time that doesn't really cost much at all, if anything, to utilize the network in our own company.
Yeah, and to that point, I would say I would back it up even one step. I think it is transformational to engage your entire company to help be on the look for opportunities that obviously they need to build a relationship first. However, I believe that starts at the top and you're going to get that out of your people with the better relationship you have with them. Right?
Internally, yes.
Yeah. So are you as the CEO showing them the power of relationships by building one with them? It's the piece that most I see most leaders miss. They're so caught up in the training and the numbers and the revenue and the profit, and that is all important. Do not get me wrong. But when you actually apply this system, my favorite people to go in and teach is a CEO with a direct report team, whether it be VPs, whether it be a sales team, whether it just be direct reports who have the sales team. I love teaching this to them and showing them how they can build the relationship with their direct reports. And therefore, the whole company does better because those direct reports work better for the client. Those direct reports are more incentivized to bring in the business because they're happier, right? They feel more fulfilled. The retention is higher, the productivity, like everything goes through the roof when the CEO steps away from this idea of profit, P&L, productivity, systems, and really gets into who are the people in my company, right? Let me focus on them. My job is to build a relationship with them so they can go build a relationship with others.
Yes.
That's when you start to see businesses transform.
And the larger your company gets, the harder that seems to be, but it's really not because what you do is you, again, make your list within your own company,
Correct.
build those relationships and model for them how they build relationships. Because, once your company gets past a certain point, that's a lot of people to keep up with. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't because at least once a year, every single one of your employees should hear from you, even if it's a handwritten note or an
Yes.
well-crafted email telling them how much you appreciate them. Please, as CEO, please touch everybody in your organization at some point. But for this purpose, right, of really connecting and networking, you can't have a five-star relationship with every single person in
No.
your company. You got
Mhm.
to be choosy, but you're also then modeling for them how to do the same thing. And they have relationships and it keeps going, right? So,
It
this is why what you say, Barb, is so important.
it trickles down through the entire company. If the CEO does it for their direct team, and then that team does it for their teams, and that team does it for their teams, before you know it, accounting is doing it too. And accounting is more incentivized to listen. I have a story of a law firm I worked with once, and the receptionist was trained in this, and the receptionist was listening, and the receptionist heard when someone called to cancel their appointment that their dad had just passed away. Most receptionists would be like, okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. When can we reschedule you? Normal. This receptionist rescheduled the appointment, immediately pinged the attorney. Hey, Alice's dad just passed away. That's why she had to cancel the appointment. I think we should send her flowers. Attorney's like, wow, great idea. Then the firms
Yeah.
sends flowers, which would be a totally respectful thing to do. We are missing those moments every day. Every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And if
Let's talk
everybody
about those moments some more because they're so important. And
are
especially
so
right in sales, these moments, I call them, triggers sometimes in sales. It's like, what are the trigger events, right? What are those moments? So yeah, let's talk about moments.
every moment counts. We have to make them meaningful. And my promise is that moments will pass you by. They do not raise their hand and say, look at me, look at me. Right? You have to hear them. You have to be trained to hear them. You have to listen for them. And then you have to act immediately on them. Right? We can't think, oh, I'll get to it down the road. And so we can talk about all the big moments, birthdays, holidays, all those types of things. Those are pretty, I hope, forefront and center. But then there's other moments where hearing a need, right? Sympathy, illness, all of those things. People on social media are telling you everything you need to know. You're just not listening, right? There's all these moments that people are sharing that there's an opportunity to leverage. And when I say leverage, I know that sometimes people are like, that sounds a little
Not in a bad way.
not in a bad way. Leverage meaning engage, take advantage of, make someone feel like a human, show them my entire career. Number one principle, treat someone as a relationship before a transaction. Show them that they are human in your life first, that it's
Yeah.
not
That
just
you
about
care.
the dollar signs, that you truly care, and you better authentically care, right? I always say if you don't authentically care, then get out of sales because you're dealing with people. Then go deal with a computer all day long, right? Like go sit in spreadsheets and databases all day long.
Yeah.
And so when we leverage these moments, and here's some other key factors, how this whole system blends together. We talked about understanding them, right? We talked about the memory tags. Do you have your database tagged, to your point, just like your Git Pocket? Do you have your whole database tagged so that you know who to engage with at what points based on characteristics, right? And so, like, an easy one to always talk about are veterans. Is every single customer or client or human that's a veteran, tagged veteran in your database? Because on those holidays that are really important to them, a message from their salesperson or someone connected to them at the company saying, thank you for your service today and always, in a personal way, will go so much further than an SEO ad ever will.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
My husband, I have one of the best examples of this is my husband sells with me. We own our real estate company together. And back in May of 2021, there was a unrest going on in America. If you remember those days, like a lot of the major cities were in turmoil. I'm from Long Beach, California. My city was burning down downtown, and our police officers were told to stand down and just kind of let it happen. And so then their media's all over them. It was a huge deal. And the next day, my husband got out his cell phone, sat on the couch, and pulled up in our database everyone in law enforcement, because we have a tag of law enforcement. And he sent a message to every single one of them that simply said, I just want you to know that Barb and I are so grateful for what you do for our community. I know last night was rough. Stay safe out there. That's
Nice.
it.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody can do that. Again, if we had waited 6 weeks to say that to somebody, it means nothing. But the morning after, they just had an incredible rough night. And let's face it, I'm a cop's daughter. And so it doesn't matter if you were on the force or not that night, you were feeling it. And so those moments are happening every day. Things are happening in America every day where somebody is connected to that situation. And you could be sending thoughtful messages, handwritten notes, celebration cards, sympathy cards. I mean, go to Dollar Tree. They got a whole 2 aisles of them and they're cheap, right? Buy them
Yeah.
for all different reasons. Baby showers, graduation, anniversary, engagement, you name it. That's your list of things to celebrate, is those card aisles. And then just, again, watch your business transform.
Yeah, yeah. It's really not that hard, but I do think that we don't give enough thought to it, right? And then of course I'm sorry, not an introvert. I am No, I
Like,
am an
really?
extrovert, as everyone knows. It's quite obvious. And it's easy for me to want to interact with people in many different ways. But if you're a bit extroverted, I know this can seem a bit daunting. But what's so wonderful about a handwritten note is you don't actually have to talk to anyone,
Mm-mm.
right? Or a quick text or a comment. However, I am, saying, hey, I hear you out there, CEOs and salespeople, although most salespeople are not introverted, they may be kind of in the middle somewhere. This does take energy, right? But that's why you need a system so that
Mhm.
it doesn't drain you and wear you out. And even if you are very introverted, you can still figure out a way and a pace and things to do that you feel comfortable doing. Don't feel like you have to do it our way, right? I
No,
mean,
1,000%. These are
yeah,
ideas and principles, but here's what I will tell you. Every salesperson that I talk to and teach this system to, the feedback I get is, wow, this is so much better than going door to door. This is so much better than getting, sorry, I'm sure some people like this out there, but 99 no's to get one yes. I'm like, who wants to be rejected 99 times? Right?
right.
And then the other thing I would say, as we wrap up this conversation is that I'm not telling anybody to stop doing other things, right? My foundational principles are the more, because relationships do not happen overnight. Okay, this is also really important to know. You're not going to call through your database one time and then all of a sudden get 25 referrals. That's not how it works, right? You may hit the jackpot, but that's typically not how it works. And so this is a slow game. But the more you build your business this way, the more your relational capital rises, then you can slowly take your foot off the gas pedal in other places. But I never want a salesperson or an organization to stop doing other things that are making them successful right now. I'm just saying that once you start doing this and you watch your profits rise and you watch your happiness and your productivity and you actually enjoy doing sales again, because my whole thing is I don't know many salespeople that want to talk to people that don't want to talk to them. But that's
Right.
what we do in sales. We get hung up on, we get cold emails not answered, we get unfollowed on LinkedIn because we're, following somebody and sending a cold DM, which drives me insane. If that's working for you, keep doing it. Just start to do less of it as you start to raise your relational capital.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I want to say one more thing about, keeping these relationships up and the way we've said to do it is so important because what I see a lot of people doing is sending a Christmas card once a year or a holiday card, a Hanukkah card once a year. And or they send a gift to their clients, prospects, and others who can refer to them. They do it during the holidays. I will say this, if you want to do that, go ahead, but remember that they are in a sea of other gifts and cards at that time of year. There are so many other reasons and so many other times of year that you could connect that would be noticed because they're not in this sea of gifts and cards, right? Like 4th of July, if you're in the US, who sends a card at 4th of July? Well, now I hope all of you will. But that will get noticed, right? Or some other time on the solstice or for Valentine's Day. We love our customers, or we love you because you've referred so many great people to us. Whatever it is, be creative
Mhm.
and think about these ways we've mentioned to reach out and do it at a time when everyone else isn't already doing it so that you will definitely stand out.
The number one way I've done that, and you might think, well, they should get a lot of this on this day, but people don't, is birthdays. Handwritten birthday cards have been one of my biggest secret weapons. And I will tell you that typically the response I get is the only other people who gave me a birthday card was my mom and my husband and
Yeah.
you. Right? Like we're all on Facebook commenting on their wall 150,000
Right.
times. That means nothing. Most people can't even read all of them. And you took the time to make sure, and I do personally happy birth month cards because I am not going to write cards every day of my life in birthday land. So I send them out twice a month in batches. But birth month cards, and it says something funny on the inside, like because one day was too short to celebrate you or something corny like that. But let me tell you, handwritten birthday cards with a simple happy birthday, hope your day's great, signed by you or the team. Talk about
Yeah.
a good data leverage that most people don't, even though
Yeah,
you have to.
absolutely. And for all of you going, well, I don't have their address. I can't get their address. Pause for a second. First of all, remember, these are people you know, right? So they're not strangers. So if you don't have their address, simply ask. I always say, hey, I'd love to pop something in the mail to you. What address should I use? I don't say, can I have your home address? I say, what address should I use? And
Correct.
guess what? People work from home now. They give me their home address.
Yep.
And then I pop something fun in the mail to them. So
Yep.
don't think you can't get their address. Now, I'm not talking about cold prospects. Remember, we are talking about these are your people, right?
I
They're
always
your
say,
3, 4, and 5 stars. So they're
yes.
going to be happy to give you their address.
They are. I always say, what's the best mailing address for you? And then, and quite honestly, now being in the real estate industry, I have the secret weapon, right? I can get anybody's address if I have an idea where you live in the county and city. But sometimes what I'll do is you can also be just kind of a standout person. And let's face it, there's enough tools out there to Google people's names, home address, and just say, hey, I have something really great, or I have something I want to pop in the mail to you. Is this your current address? Do you still live on Canton Street? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, wow, yeah, yeah, that's where I live. And then bam, you have their address. So like, don't use that as a roadblock, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then lastly, if you don't have their address, there's also digital ways to send really thoughtful things these days,
Yes.
right? There is really good digital ways. Send them a text message, say, hey, check your inbox. I was thinking about you and I just thought this would be perfect for you. Or you were on my mind today. I hope this makes your day, or something like that, because those things can go a long way too. I used to mail gift cards like crazy, but unfortunately in today's mail, you can't because they
You
get
can't.
stolen. So I sometimes will write a handwritten note and say, hey, send something into your inbox, hope you got it, so that it triggers them to go back and look if they didn't get it. So there's just, you just
Yeah, in
got
case you went to spam. But, I mean, there are tons of great tools out there to send, cards and gifts electronically if you need to. So that's awesome as well. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you about this all day, Barb, because it's one of my favorite topics. We are running out of time. I have 3 quick questions
yes.
for you, and then I will get you on your way. The first one is, what is a book that you think every CEO should read?
Hands down, I read it every single year. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh my gosh. So do I. That is crazy. I
Mhm.
have that. I have several editions of it, but I also teach at the University of Nevada sometimes. And I make my students read it every time I teach.
Mhm.
100%. I love that book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book is over 30 years old. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
like close to 60 years old,
I
actually.
have a couple, Think and Grow Rich is another one.
Yeah.
The Greatest Salesman in the World. Like those 3, I've been trained my entire sales career to constantly pick those up.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. All right. What's a podcast you love because it makes you think differently?
I think the 2 that come to mind the most are probably also very common, which is I love both Ed Millett and Lewis Howes podcasts. And the reason I love them is because of the people they bring on, very similar to you, right? Like I don't really listen to podcasts because I want to learn a ton of things. I want to be inspired. I want to hear people's stories. And so I just feel like both of them do such a great job bringing on kind of the current thought leaders, new, fresh faces, people like that. So those are 2 that are definitely on my download list.
All right. And last question. What does every CEO need to know to win in this marketplace?
Relationships before revenue, always.
Thank you so much for your time, Barb. This has been such a fun conversation. Can't wait for everyone to hear it. And excellent. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you, Alice.
If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.